Hello everyone, welcome to this briefing on the Music Hub Capital Grant for musical instruments, equipment and technology. I'd like to introduce myself and my colleagues who are joining me today. So I'm going to ask for the slides to be taken down, please, and ask my four colleagues to join me on screen. I'm Hannah Foraker, Director of Music Education at Arts Council England. I'm a white woman with red hair, with glasses, and I'm sitting here in my home office in East Yorkshire.
I'm Owen Pettinger, Senior Manager for Collaborative Funding. I'm a white man with greying hair in my early 40s.
I'm Natasha Clayton, Senior Officer for Collaborative Funding. I'm a white woman wearing glasses and a green top, and I have dark hair.
I'm Kristen Horner, Senior Officer for Music Education. I'm a white woman in my late 20s wearing a white top, and I have blonde hair.
Hi, I'm Belinda Lake and I work at the Department for Education as a Senior Policy Advisor in the Music Policy team. And I am a Black woman with really awful grown out highlights at the moment. I'm wearing a grey top.
Thanks everyone. On screen today, we are also joined by our BSL interpreter, Stephen Hudson. We have also provided this presentation as a separate file if you need to read it. The purpose of today's webinar is to support Hub lead organisations to effectively plan for the deployment of their capital grant and deliver against its requirements. We thought we'd record this briefing so that you can watch it at a time when you're ready to think about the capital grant. You know that if you have any questions once you have watched this, you can reach out to us via your relationship manager or our Music Hub's inbox. I'll share some further routes for support at the end of our briefing. We will revisit the key components of the capital grant, including its timeline and key dates, let you know how we've responded to your feedback and comments since we published draft information about the grant in April 2024, and signpost you to key documents, resources, and upcoming support. Next slide, please. The Music Hub programme funds a network of 43 Hub partnerships which cover every area of England, appointed through our recent Music Hub investment programme. The Hub lead organisations that coordinate hubs play a critical role in fulfilling the vision and goals set out in the 2022 National Plan for Music Education, The Power of Music to Change Lives. To achieve this, HLOs are awarded 2 grants. The Revenue Grant, which is core funding to coordinate and support the delivery of music education provision through a Hub partnership, in line with the vision, aims, and strategic functions for hubs as set out in the NPME. The Music Hub Capital Grant for musical instruments, equipment, and technology, which will support the music hubs to deliver against the vision and aims expressed for them in the NPME by increasing the volume, range, relevance, and accessibility of musical instruments, equipment, and technology in the hub area. Today's webinar focuses on the capital grant for musical instruments, equipment, and technology. In April 2024, we published an essential information document and draft terms and conditions for the capital grant, which outlined its scope and requirements so that Hub lead organisations could begin to plan for its deployment in their music hub areas. We're really pleased that following the issuing of funding agreements for the core revenue grant, we have now been able to issue conditional offers for the capital grant to all Hub lead organisations. Alongside this, we have published a refreshed version of the essential information document, which we made available in the spring, final terms and conditions, and the other templates that you will need to report to us about your deployment of the capital grant. I'm now going to talk a little bit more about the capital grant funding timeline. Next slide, please. The capital grant will be administered via a capital funding agreement between Arts Council England and the appointed HLO for each music hub area. The duration of the funding agreement is for 5 years, but the grant award is expected to be spent or committed by HLOs within 2 years, between the 1st of September 2024 and the 31st of August 2026. We recently issued conditional offers for the capital grant, which set out the conditions you will need to meet before a funding agreement for the capital grant can be issued. To meet the conditional offer, you are required to submit, firstly, your purchasing strategy for the period 1st of September 2024 to the 31st of August 2026, and secondly, information about your hub's current stock of instruments, equipment, and technology. Once you have submitted your conditional offer notification, we will aim to review submitted information and documentation within 4 weeks and may request further information or amendments before plans are approved. You should not expect to make any purchases until you have secured a funding agreement for the capital grant. 30th of November 2024 is the deadline for hubs to submit their conditional offer notification for the capital grant. Once conditions have been met, we will issue you with a funding agreement for the capital grant, and the approved purchasing strategy will form part of the funding agreement with us. The funding agreement is made up of your offer letter, which will be made available within Grantium, and monitoring schedule and payment condition information. The capital grant is split into 4 payments over the funding period. Payment 1 can be requested from 1st of September this year, but this is contingent on HLO's completing the funding agreement acknowledgement submission and Arts Council approval of bank details submission within Grantium. All HLOs must submit payment 1 for the capital grant by the 31st of January 2025. Payment 2 can be requested from the 1st of April 2025 and payment 3 from the 1st of September 2025. Payment 4 must be submitted by the 30th of September 2026, which is 1 month after the funding period activity ends. Please note that these dates are not fixed. We recognise that hubs will be at different stages, so the dates listed for payments 1 to 3 should be thought of as the date at which the drawdown or request of the grant is available. I also want to highlight that no more than 90% of the grant can be drawn down before the 31st of March 2025, as per the essential information document. The final 10% of the grant award is paid in arrears once all activity is completed. You can find out more about the conditional funding offer for the capital grant, a monitoring schedule, and payment conditions in the refreshed essential information document. Next slide, please. So this summer, we have published updated information, guidance, and resources about the capital grant on our website. To access these documents, please follow the link here, which is tinyurl.com/MHIP docs, and use the QR code on screen. These documents include, firstly, a refreshed essential information document, which builds on the information we published earlier this year and includes changes informed by feedback from the sector. This is the primary resource for HLOs and contains the key information you need to plan and implement your grant, including the scope of the grant, what it can be and cannot be spent on, the value and funding period of the capital grant, the funding agreement, including the conditional offer stage, the payment schedule, monitoring and reporting arrangements, and other considerations relating to planning purchases, including needs analysis, capitalisation, asset ownership, subsidy control, the DFE's musical instruments, equipment and technology framework, impact and evaluation, and the management and maintenance of instruments, equipment and technology. We recommend using the essential information document as your main reference throughout your funding agreement with us. The second document to highlight is Schedule 1, the agreed project. Schedule 1 forms part of your funding agreement and will be available as an attachment in Grantium. It is also included as an appendix to the essential information document, outlining the agreed project, scope of the grant, and purchasing arrangements set out in your purchasing strategy submitted at conditional offer stage, outcomes and outputs of the grant award, agreed use of project assets, and subsidy control information. The third document to highlight is the Asset Purchase and Management Agreements, APMA guidance. This is also included as an appendix to the Essential Information document, and it contains information and guidance which will support you to develop appropriate legal agreements with your partners that will be using the capital grant to purchase, store, maintain instruments, equipment, and technology for the Music Hub. The APMA guidance outlines the purpose of this agreement, its recommended content, and our expectations for HLOs to ensure that partners are committed to the terms and conditions of the capital grant. You are required to submit relevant partnership agreements, or APMAs, as a condition of initial and interim payments. The final document to highlight is the Purchasing Plan Guidance, also given as an appendix to the refreshed Essential Information document and available through Grantium. This provides more detailed information on what we expect from your purchasing plan strategy and in the purchasing plan template. You should refer to this guidance when developing your purchasing strategy at conditional offer stage. The guidance includes key prompts for completing your 4 statements within the purchasing strategy via Grantium, including about your approach to needs analysis, your partnership arrangements, your procurement method statement, and instrument management and maintenance policy. You should continue to refer to this document at funding agreement stage, when updating your purchasing strategy statements, and when compiling your purchasing template. It contains step-by-step instructions on completing each column of the purchasing plan template. I'll now hand over to Natasha, who will talk you through the templates we're publishing. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Owen. We have also published 2 templates for you to use during the funding period of your capital grant. These are a purchasing plan template. As part of your funding agreement, you are expected to submit details of the assets you are planning to purchase using the capital grant. Use of this template is a mandatory requirement during grant monitoring stage and is a condition of initial and interim payments. Purchases outlined in your purchasing plan template should reflect the level of funding being requested at each payment point. You should submit the purchasing plan template as an attachment to the payment request submissions in Grantium. We will use the updated purchasing plan template to check against the purchasing strategy, register of assets, alongside other evidence of purchases, including, for example, quotations or tender reports. You will find a quick guide to completing the columns in the Excel spreadsheet as a separate tab within the template. And remember to refer to the Essential Information document for help and support, and in particular to the Purchasing Plan Guidance, which is an appendix to the Essential Information document. Second, we have a Register of Assets template. At conditional offer stage, we expect hub lead organisations to provide us with information about the instruments, equipment, and technology already held by the hub, covering upper tier local authority areas. This should include the HLO and former HLOs if they are hub partners. HLOs can choose to use the published Register of Assets template at this stage, but it isn't mandatory to do so. You can share this information using whatever format or template is currently used. If detailed information isn't available, you can provide estimates, especially if this data is new or due to changing partnerships and developing plans. As part of your funding agreement, you are expected to maintain a register of assets which contains information about project assets purchased using the capital grant. Use of this template is mandatory during grant monitoring stage and is a condition of interim and final payments. This template should only contain information about project assets purchased using the capital grant. You should submit the Register of Assets template as an attachment to the payment request submissions in Grantium. We will also use the updated Register of Assets template to check against purchasing plan templates alongside other evidence of purchases, including, for example, quotations or tender reports. You will find a quick guide to completing the columns in the Excel spreadsheet as a separate tab within the template. We've published both of these templates on our website through the link on screen at tinyurl.com/MHIPdocs and via the QR code on screen. They will also be available through Grantium when you need to use them. Next slide, please. In addition to the essential information document and the Excel templates outlined in the previous slides, we've also published the following guidance and information on our website. Grantium Guidance provides a straightforward step-by-step guide for completing the conditional offer notification and funding agreement acknowledgement steps via Grantium. Just to note that the capital grant and the core revenue grant are subject to separate funding agreements and will have different project numbers on Grantium. Therefore, we require separate submission processes for each. We've published final terms and conditions for the capital grant, which have been updated based on sector feedback and comments. Changes include amendments to the approach for the purchasing plan submission at conditional offer stage, inclusion of criteria for exceptional circumstances for not using the DFE musical instruments, equipment and technology framework, data collated through the Register of Assets template, and responsibilities for insurance of project assets. A number of Music Hub programme documents embed information about both the capital and the revenue grants, so please also refer to the Quick Reference Guide, which will support you to navigate key information and dates for the capital grant, the Local Plan for Music Education, or LPME guidance, sets out expectations for LPME development during the 2024 to 25 funding period. Within this, hubs should consider how their use of the capital grant is supporting them to deliver against the aims and objectives they have identified through their LPMEs. You may wish, for example, to articulate this within relevant SMART objectives. Hubs should also evidence through their purchasing strategies that arrangements to manage and maintain project assets are in place. The HLO should demonstrate that this has been considered as part of the instrument management and maintenance policy developed as part of their LPME. And finally, the relationship framework, which forms part of the Music Hub revenue and capital grant funding agreements and sets out the relationship between Arts Council England and hub lead organisations on behalf of their Music Hub for the 2024 to 25 funding period. It provides further information on monitoring processes for the capital grant, including the 2024 to 25 performance framework, contact meetings and feedback, risk monitoring, and annual survey requirements. All of these documents are available via our website through the link on screen at tinyurl.com/mhubhowto and tinyurl.com/mhipdocs and via the QR code on screen. I'll now hand over to Kristen.
Thank you, Natasha. We'd like to thank you for the feedback that you've shared with us since we published information about the capital grant earlier this year, including through the recent hub drop-ins and via Music Mark's Capital Fund Big Meet. We've made several key adjustments based on what we've heard from you, and here's a summary of those changes. You told us that the timeline for conditional offer stage was unclear. We've clarified this in the refreshed essential document, detailing what is required at the conditional offer stage versus what is needed at subsequent payment stages. We've also extended the deadline for the first payment request from the 3rd to the 31st of January 2025. Please also see the diagram setting out the funding timeline earlier in this presentation. We revised the structure of the purchasing plan and our requirements at conditional offer stage. You are no longer required to submit a detailed purchasing plan template at conditional offer stage, but you will need to submit a purchasing strategy, which describes your approach to needs analysis and partnership. It should include a procurement method statement and also provide information about the instrument management and maintenance policy you are including in your LPME. And detailed purchasing plans will only be required once a funding agreement is in place. We've provided more information about the exceptional circumstances in which HLOs can purchase instruments, equipment, and technology outside of the Department for Education's Musical Instrument, Equipment, and Technology framework. We've also updated the essential information document to provide clearer guidance on asset ownership, including as part of consortium arrangements. We've provided more information about how assets should be managed and owned to support smooth operation and accountability within partnerships. HLOs are the owners of assets purchased with the capital grant, and they're ultimately accountable to the DFE for any loss or damage. They're also responsible for ensuring that the instruments are used for the specific uses set out in the funding agreement. HLOs can, however, enable either consortium members or partners to purchase, store, manage, and maintain assets for the benefit of the hub, and detail those arrangements via clear partnership agreements or asset purchase and management agreements. For consortium members, arrangements can also be included in the relevant consortium agreements. There's further information about this in the refreshed essential information document and in the asset purchase and management agreement guidance, which is included as an appendix to the essential information document. We let you know in the spring that we would publish purchasing plan and register of assets templates over the summer. We've provided detailed guidance with the templates about how to fill out and submit these through Grantium. This includes step-by-step instructions and information on submission deadlines, helping to streamline the process for everyone involved. We recognise that in response to your purchasing planning and to developing needs of the hub, there may be circumstances in which you wish to discuss further flexibility with regards to payment dates and/or amounts. We've included further information about this in the essential information document. And in the first instance, you should speak to your relationship manager to discuss your specific needs. We've also aligned the scope table with the lots included in the Department for Education's framework. This ensures that everyone has a clear understanding of how the grant can be used. You can find out more information on this in the refreshed essential information document. And finally, to clarify partner roles, we've also provided guidance on asset purchasing and management agreements, or APMAs. These adjustments are designed to better support your planning and operational needs in deploying the capital grants, and we really appreciate your ongoing feedback. I'll now hand over to my DFE colleague, Belinda, who will talk more about the Department for Education's Instrument, Equipment and Technology framework. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Kristen. The DFE is developing a music instrument, equipment and technology framework, which is designed to ensure that a range of suppliers, manufacturers and retailers can participate in this important investment into music education, and also to ensure that hub lead organisations can access the items they need to deliver fantastic music education for children and young people. As part of conversations with Hub lead organisations, we have heard that you needed more detail about the exceptional circumstances when purchases can be made outside of the DfE's musical instrument, equipment and technology framework. To respond to this, we have clarified information in the essential information document. By exceptional circumstances, the DfE means circumstances in which it is not possible for a HLO or Music Hub partner to purchase the specific items they need through the framework. Hub lead organisations will need to explain the rationale for this through the purchasing strategy, which should be based on the following criteria. Availability. The specific instruments, equipment, or technology hubs require are within the scope of the grant, but are not available from any of the suppliers which are listed on the framework. HLOs must ensure that they provide a clear rationale for this through their purchasing strategy. Time. The lead times for delivery through the framework would significantly delay the programme of activity, and there is a need for immediate procurement to meet requirements. HLOs must provide a rationale for the time-sensitive nature of these purchases through their purchasing strategy and plan. Cost. While the framework aims to provide value for money, including based on cost, there may be situations where a HLO identifies a lower cost for the same item outside of the framework. HLOs must provide a rationale through their purchasing strategy and plan, including detailing how lower cost does not compromise on quality or longevity of items being purchased. Quality and appropriateness. Items available through the framework do not meet the specific quality standards or appropriateness required by the HLO to meet the needs of children and young people. Through their purchasing strategy, HLOs must provide a rationale for why the available items are inappropriate and how the alternative options better meet the needs of children and young people and support delivery of their LPME. Existing contractual obligations and existing contractual agreements with a supplier which predates the framework's implementation. HLOs must document the existing contract and compare this with the framework options through their purchasing strategy and plan. The DfE will then review cases referring to this circumstance on an individual basis and advise where cases qualify as an exception. Further information and a buyer's guide will be made available to Hub lead organisations in the coming months. I will now pass back to Owen.
Thanks, Belinda. We recognise that HLOs are operating against varying timelines in their planning for and deployment of the capital grant. To accommodate this and support you, the grant structure has been designed and guidance updated with flexibility in mind. This ensures that you can access resources and support when you are ready to use them. To support with planning around the capital grant, we have updated our website FAQs on capital, and you can find these by visiting our website tinyurl.com/MHIPFAQs. The DfE will also produce a buyer's guide for HLOs in due course to support HLOs to use the supplier framework. To assist you through the capital grant conditional offer process, we're hosting a series of informal capital drop-in sessions from July and across the autumn term 2024. The first session is scheduled for Wednesday, July 31st from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Other dates are listed on the slide and links are available by following the QR code on screen. These dates are Wednesday the 21st of August from 2 till 3 p.m, Tuesday the 17th of September from 11:30 till 12:30, Tuesday the 15th of October from 11 till 12, and Tuesday the 12th of November from 2 till 3 p.m. Drop-ins are designed for HLOs to connect and gather support within the new network of music hubs. The Arts Council's music education team, along with other specialists, will be available to answer questions and facilitate the sessions. This is a great opportunity to gather with other hub leaders, share your experiences, and discuss your journey to date with the Capital Grant. To note, these sessions aren't for sharing new information, but rather for seeking clarification and encouraging collaboration in your approach to deploying the Capital Grant at each stage. The sessions are flexible and driven by your needs. If there is no demand, we won't run them. However, spaces will be allocated on a first-come, first-served basis, and usually there is only one space per music hub available. To manage attendance effectively, we encourage you to register as soon as possible to guarantee your place. We've scheduled these sessions over the long term so that you can choose the most convenient time for you. Consider which drop-in sessions are most relevant to your hub and determine who from your organisation or partnership should attend. You will be asked to send questions the week before the event, so keep an eye out for an email from Eventbrite. If you aren't able to attend any of the drop-ins, we're happy to share notes after the event on request via musichubs@artscouncil.org.uk. Finally, if you need support from your relationship manager, please do get in touch or email the music education team at the same email address, musichubs@artscouncil.org.uk. That's everything from us today. This recording will stay on the website, so feel free to return to it as and when you need it. Thanks very much for viewing the webinar. We really hope you found it useful, and goodbye.